Good morning, everyone. This is Ted Myrmagos, Division Director at the Division of Child Support Services here in the state of Delaware. And this is the April 2026 Child Support Connection. And I am grateful that we have this opportunity to talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on here at the Division of Child Support Services. And most importantly, I hope that there will be some questions and comments that come in from folks who are tuning in so that hopefully I can help them manage their child support situation. And, so as I like to do, I like to start off by going ahead and talking about our Child Support Office's mission statement, and I will take a few minutes to go over that with everyone, and then just some ground rules as we move forward with today's Child Support Connection. So it is our mission here at the Division of Child Support Services to deliver quality customer support by partnering with parents to improve the lives of their children and, of course, the family unit. We achieve this through obtaining accurate child support orders to meet the financial, medical, and emotional needs to promote family self-sufficiency and the best outcomes for children here in the state of Delaware. So that is our mission statement, and it's something that I know folks who have tuned into these child support connections probably get tired of me saying, but it's important. It's important to us as an agency that folks know what we believe in and what we are striving to meet when we do work with our custodial and non-custodial parents. So it's something that I've been doing for years, and I'm going to continue to do it. I just think it's so important for everyone to understand the mission of our division. And I was just thinking as I was reading through that mission statement, it may be maybe we could do it today. I don't know, but maybe this is something that we could break down a little bit further, if not today, and maybe a future Child Support Connection. Really kind of dive into that mission statement and talk a little bit about what's important to us and why we wrote it that way. We wrote that mission statement here at Child Support, and there was a reason why we did that. So there's a reason why it's worded the way we worded it. So that's all. And I'd like to dive into having a little bit more of an in-depth discussion about it. And then the other thing I need to mention, and I probably need to do this, and folks always have been really pretty good about this, is that we want to make sure that there is no personal information left in the comment section of these Facebook Live events. We certainly don't want the other party in your child support situation or your children to be identified in the comment section. I really wish that Facebook would come up with a way where I can bring people in and actually have a face-to-face, like someone puts a comment in and I can just log into them and then they can actually have a one-on-one discussion with me about their particular situation. Then we wouldn't have to use these answering the comment section or answering their questions. So, but maybe we can figure out a way to do that. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, just as kind of a little programming update here, is that I've spoken to our community relations officer here at Child Support, and we are going to consider looking at a way to have a separate program one evening with directly and only for non-custodial parents. So we can try to set something up so that we can have those conversations. I think that also is something that I've been wanting to do for quite some time. Let's get the non-custodial parents on Facebook in a Facebook Live event and have a conversation about some of the situations they face as they try or try to either meet their child support obligation or in some cases trying to avoid them. So I would really like to have those dialogues, and maybe we can use some of our public nonprofit relationships to get non-custodial parents to participate in these meetings. So that is still in the works, and I'm hoping to do something in the near future. And then the last thing I'll say before I go into some other areas of the child support program is, I always like to say this because you never know when people will be tuning in to watch this video. Two things. One, we will always be moving these child support connections to our YouTube channel, and I don't advertise it enough. You can watch all of these videos, all of these child support connections on our YouTube channel, and we are encouraging folks to go to YouTube and just dial up, the Delaware Division of Child Support Services, and follow us, and you will see all of the different videos that we have that are out there. So I need to promote that more. Get people to go to that YouTube channel because there's a ton of good information out there. And then, so what I'd like to do is go ahead and this was the last thing. Anytime that I see a comment in the comment section, I try really hard to get there because I know folks are hanging on, waiting to hear an answer to their question. So I do normally drop away from what I'm discussing to get over to that comment and hopefully be able to answer the person's question. So if you have a comment, go ahead and throw it in the comment section, and I will drop everything to get there to answer your question. And last month there was an individual who put a comment in the comment section that basically said, hey, I was here the prior month to that, I had a question, child support tackled it and got me the answer I needed. So she was promoting the fact that this Facebook Live event actually did help her resolve her particular child support situation. So thank you for giving me the few minutes to kind of just go over some housekeeping items and just to clarify some of the things we do here at Child Support in the way of trying to address questions and concerns as part of this Facebook Live Child Support Connection. So spring is in the air, and hopefully that will renew and bring in some additional comments and questions. And the bottom line really to what we do here at Child Support is to support custodial parents, of course, and their families and their children, and but also to address non-custodial parents. Those are the individuals that the court has said you're to pay child support. To work with non-custodial parents, especially the ones that are not paying, to get them back on track, get them on track to make child support payments, and then work with custodial parents who are doing what they are obligated to do. And really, I was telling somebody a couple of weeks ago, I love it when a non-custodial parent meets that obligation and the child has emancipated, and we can shower the non-custodial parent with praise because they've met that obligation. They can get that obligation canceled with the family court, and then if they want to continue to make payments to help the children, that's wonderful. But as far as the court obligation to do so, that obligation has ended when a child has emancipated and the obligations have been satisfied in full. So we like to praise those non-custodial parents when they've met that obligation. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about some of the things we are working on here at the Child Support Office. And then I will continue to monitor for comments and jump all over those when they do come in. So what I thought we could talk a little bit about, and this may be a little boring for some, but then maybe that'll spark a question to get me off of these subjects so that we can address some of the questions or concerns that folks have. I wanted to talk a little bit about the history of the child support program here in Delaware and around the country. So this might get into the weeds a little bit, but I think it's important for people to know that the establishment of the child support program has been around for quite some time. And back in 2025, we actually celebrated, the child support program celebrated 25 years 50 years, my bad, 50 years of existence. In 1975, it was Title 4D of the Social Security Act that actually created the child support program. And it was really put in place initially to support families who were receiving aid to families with dependent children, which was also known as AFDC, and is now known as TANF, Temporary Assistance to Needy Families. So the child support program was created in 1975, and it was put in place in order for the states to collect TANF benefits. So to reimburse the state for families who were collecting TANF benefits. And we continue to do that today, but the number of cases where the client is on TANF have gone down. So we're still doing it, but not as frequently. A majority of the child support cases are for parents who are not collecting TANF benefits and are receiving payments directly from the non-custodial parent through the child support office and going directly into their household. So, but the purpose, all those 50 years ago, has continued today. And we still do have a small caseload of TANF recipients that we are actually collecting benefits, collecting child support payments from the non-custodial parent and sending them on, being collected by the state. In 1984, from 75 to 84, the child support amendments of 1984 expanded the 4D child support program to include families that were not receiving TANF benefits or AFDC benefits at the time. So that's that shift away from solely collecting payments to repay the state for TANF benefits, and now bringing in a whole new population of folks who were to receive those child support payments directly from non-custodial parents. And then you have the Family Support Act of 1988. And this increased enforcement activities and simplified the paternity establishment process. And then I see we have a person who is joining us, Ms. Jackson. Good morning. Thank you for joining. And I'll just write a little hello in the comment section. There we go. And so that was the Child Support, Family Support Act of 1988. That increased those enforcement activities. and simplified the paternity establishment process. Establishing paternity is so important to the children involved, so important, and as being able to simplify it by establishing the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity process has made the child support establishment process, as well as establishing paternity for kids, so much easier, and it has made great strides over the year. And then you have, in 1992, you have the Child Support Recovery Act of 1992, and that involved dealing with imprisonment of non-custodial parents, as well as fines and those types of things that were levied on non-custodial parents for not paying their child support timely or as ordered by the court. So the Child Support Recovery Act. Now in Delaware, as well as I'm sure pretty much every state in the country, incarceration of non-custodial parents was something that's used as a last resort. It's still done that here today in Delaware, and it's when non-custodial parents have continued year after year to not meet their child support obligations. And then in 1993, you have OBRA of 1993, and that revised the paternity establishment process. And then the big one in 1996, PERORA, the Personal Responsibility Work Opportunity Reconciliation Act of 1996. For short, it's PERORA. That not only affected the child support program, but affected our friends at the Division of Social Services when they had to implement welfare to work programs. And it also was put in place to increase self-sufficiency for custodial parents. So, PERORA, from a child support perspective, it did have really was probably one of the more important pieces of federal legislation affecting the child support program. Since the enactment of the program in 1975, and it really did direct child support programs on how to meet certain standards in order to make sure that non-custodial parents were meeting those obligations, and that custodial parents were being the services that they needed were being met. And then most recently in 2016, you had the modernization of the child support enforcement programs, and that really focused more on non-custodial parents, their ability to pay, and preventing certain enforcement activities from taking place once the child support programs determined that non-custodial parents did not have the ability to pay. Did they become disabled? Are they incarcerated or in a psychiatric facility? So, there were various standards put in place by the federal government in 2016 that actually supported non-custodial parents, and making sure that those that did not have the ability to pay were not being placed under child support obligations, either current child support obligations or ones that they had in the past that they couldn't afford to pay. So a lot of work has gone into meeting those standards by child support offices around the country. So there you go. You have 7 significant child support laws that were put in place since the enactment of the program 51 years ago. So a lot of work and energy and effort by the child support programs have been put in place to meet these federal legislative changes. And Delaware is no different than any other state around the country. Then the next thing I thought I would talk a little bit, and again, this is a little dry, but we here in Delaware have a federal office that we report to, and that provides us with guidance on regulatory changes that occur at the federal level. So we report to the Federal Office of Child Support Enforcement, Region 3, which is located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And like I said, they are there to help us guide the program here in Delaware forward and make sure that we are meeting not only those federal laws that guide our program, but we have what we call a state plan that we are required to meet various program components and making sure that we are doing what the Child Support Office has directed us to do. And then, of course, with the federal office, we are audited by the Federal Office of Child Support Enforcement on an annual basis. We also report various fiscal pieces of data to the federal office every year. We do it quarterly, but there is a quarterly report and then an annual report to the federal government based on our financial stability and that kind of thing. And then we also have what we call our self-assessment. We do a self-assessment. We look at the program internally based on certain guidelines that the federal government says we are obligated to meet. And we determine, are we meeting those thresholds? Are we meeting the requirements of the Federal Office of Child Support Enforcement? So we work very hard to meet those requirements each and every year. Let's see what's the next thing I wanted to talk a little bit. I thought what we could do is talk a little bit about, and we've done this over the last several years. We've talked about the various programs here at the different units and the different programs we have at Child Support. And I was just recently speaking to my cabinet secretary, and child support is a little bit different than the other 10 or 11 divisions within the Department of Health and Social Services. We really have one function. So we're not like the Division of Public Health or the Division of Substance Abuse and Mental Health. They have various units that take on various different charges of responsibility. Here at Child Support, we may have separate units, but all of those units work on one primarily goal of interest, and that's getting child support payments in the door from non-custodial parents and making sure that we are sending those payments out to the correct custodial parent or the correct state child support program, or retaining those payments on behalf of the state of Delaware. So someone may work in our fiscal accounting unit or our state disbursement unit, and that's where the payments come into the Child Support Office. But those goals of the individuals that work in our state disbursement unit are also the same goal of a child support specialist that works in our operations unit, getting the money out to the custodial parent. So they may be doing different things to get that money out the door, but it's really, we at Child Support, one function with various ways of achieving that function, and that is getting the money out the door to the other party involved, whoever that may be. But at Child Support, we have an accounting unit, And that unit is responsible for entering child support orders into the system, as well as auditing child support cases when they need, to have their child support case audited. It will also deal with situations when we receive, like for instance, it does happen, we may receive a bad check from an employer or from a non-custodial parent, and we have to deal with recouping money in order to pay back the state for monies that were sent out to the other party. So we do they do various things. They will we receive money into the child support office, and we don't know where to apply that money. They do the research to make sure that custodial parents get those funds in a timely fashion. So our accounting unit, they're very take on many different challenges to get those child support payments out the door. Then I mentioned already the state disbursement unit, and that's where all of the child support that comes into the state of Delaware gets sent to our state disbursement unit, and they are the ones that will apply the payment to the child support case. In the child support programs around the country, we only have 2 business days to log that payment that comes in. When we get it in our hands, to log that payment in and get it out to the other party involved. The state disbursement unit will also handle direct deposit or U.S. Bank issued Relia card applications to make sure that if a payment comes in, the person who's to receive that payment has signed up for direct deposit or to receive it to the Relia card. And there's an application that has to be completed by the custodial parent. And then we have our fiscal unit, and I always like to describe our fiscal unit here at Child Support is the unit that basically keeps our lights on. They pay our bills and work closely with our department to make sure we are meeting our financial our financial obligations, as well as another big role that the fiscal unit plays is that they help us manage our child support grant with the Federal Office of Child Support Enforcement. Big role. They help us with our contracts and all of our different relationships with individuals in the community. The next unit, and this is the biggest, and they are in existence in all 3 counties. This is our operations case processing unit, and it's made up of administrative specialists, but also child support specialists, and they actually handle the actual case processing of individual child support cases. And as I mentioned, they are in all 3 counties here in the state. We have 3 offices in those child support specialists. I also will refer to them as case processors. They are located in each of those offices. Now they will use our sophisticated child support system to help us case process. And we have about 73,000 cases in the state of Delaware. So they are, those, say, for instance, maybe 120 individuals are working really hard to manage those child support cases. Now, the thing about it is when a child support case, the non-custodial parent is making those obligations, meeting those monthly obligations, there may not be a lot of child support activity needed. So, it's really focusing on those cases where the non-custodial parent is not meeting the obligation, and we need to take some enforcement activity, that the child support specialist will get involved and really work hard to make sure that if the non-custodial parent, like I mentioned already, has the ability to pay, that they are meeting their obligation, that we can find out where they're working, and get those child support payments in the door. We work closely with employers, and 73 or 74% of all payments we get come from an employer mailing those payments or making an electronic payment to our state disbursement unit. So child support specialists and the administrative support specialists that are helping them really do work hard to get those payments in the child support office. And then we have a lot of support units here at Child Support. We have a program and policy unit. Now, the program part of that is helping the child support specialists manage some of the special enforcement tools. The state and federal tax intercept program, the passport denial program, reporting to the credit bureaus. Those programs are run out of our program and policy unit. They do everything from coordinating with the State Department to coordinating with non-custodial parents who have requested an administrative hearing because they feel we should not have taken that enforcement activity. They will work hard to coordinate those processes and to help us put in place those special enforcement tools that will get non-custodial parents in compliance. And then we have our systems unit, and that unit really just keeps our child support system moving forward, not only from making sure the system doesn't go down, but to also making program improvements to our child support, our Delaware child support system, so that everybody can work in the system to make sure payments are coming in on a regular basis. And then Ms. Jackson responded, I am well, thank you. I wasn't sure if you'd be answering questions during this live, but I have one or two. Yeah, absolutely. I love to answer questions. So let's see here. What do we got? So my question is about arrears. When the non-custodial parent is in arrears and doesn't file taxes, how many years is allowed to go on? Also, say they're making payments but are still in arrears. Does the IRS still intercept to satisfy what is owed if they file taxes? Yep. And how often is it reviewed by the Child Support Division to report the information to the IRS? I apologize if I am ahead of the question portion. No, you are not. And like I'm going to say this first, just so everybody knows. I am always ready to answer questions. So put them in there. I will stop what I'm doing. The question part is the most important part of these Child Support Connection monthly events. So I'm happy. I hope you didn't have to wait too long listening to me go on about the child support program. But let's hit it. Let's hit your question. More than happy to answer these. So as for your first question, if the non-custodial parent is in arrears and doesn't file taxes, how many years is that allowed to go on? Unfortunately, we at the Child Support Office do not have any control over how long a non-custodial parent can go or would go without filing a tax return. And so we don't have any control over that. And I'm not sure whether the IRS has rules around that. That's something that certainly could be asked of the IRS. It could be asked of someone who does taxes. I just don't have the answer to that. I know that we don't have any ability to force an individual to file their taxes. Also, say they are making payments, but they're still in arrears. Does the IRS still intercept to satisfy what is owed if they file? So every year, the state of Delaware will send to the IRS for anyone who meets the eligibility requirements, what they owe in child support arrearages. So we basically certify with the IRS, Joe Smith owes X amount of dollars as of this date. And so let's say throughout the year they've reduced those arrears, we send an update to the IRS annually. Secondly, if after we've sent the letter or the electronic notification to the IRS, that individual keeps paying down the arrears, anything that comes in from the IRS over and above what the current arrears balance is, we would refund to the non-custodial parent. So let's just keep it hypothetical here. October 1st of 2025, we say IRS, he owes $5,000 in arrears, but he's still making payments, and by the time that tax return comes in say May of 2026, he only owes $3,000. We would keep the $3,000 and send him the $2,000 back as part of our refund. And really that's the hope. We hope that the person continues to make the payments, reducing those arrears balances, and then we can refund him the difference. So it's and then to answer your question, we send the new certified arrears balance, whether it goes up or down. We send that certified arrears balance annually to the IRS, and I do believe it is somewhere around September, October of each year. They get a new electronic transmittal from us, transmission. It basically says, for everyone that meets the requirements, this is what the arrears balance is. I just want to make sure I think I got everything, and yep. So yeah, so these are great questions. I really appreciate it, because you know why? These questions go into behind the scenes stuff, and that's great. People who have a child support case, they really should have a right to know, how we do business, what happens behind the scenes here. And then, one of the good things with technology, a lot of the things that required paper in the past have now become an electronic process. And what used to take days, to communicate with federal partners such as the IRS, can be done in a matter of minutes. They're updating their records. So thank you for these questions. These are great questions, Ms. Jackson, and you never have to wait. Please, if you come to a future Child Support Connection, you never have to wait to ask a question. I'm really, this is what it's all about. I want to answer questions from the public, so really grateful for those questions. You got it. And they were really insightful. I really appreciate that. So I just, yep, you got it. And let's see here. I just want to go back, because I still like to go back and finish where I left off, because I always like to give credit to my people, some of the people that work really hard here. So, I talked about the systems unit, and just like every division within DHSS, we have our own training unit here at Child Support that work really hard to not only train our child support specialists and our accounting folks, and they deal with and work closely with new employees that come into our child support offices to make sure that they're trained on how to correctly process a child support case. So our training unit will do a lot of that training, day-to-day case processing, how to do an audit, and supervisors and managers play an important role in that too. But they also will train us on everything from, sexual harassment in the workplace to diversity training. They work closely with our department's training unit to make sure we're getting, as an employee of child support, we're all getting the required trainings that the state's Department of Human Resources, their training programs put out. So our training unit works really hard to make sure we are all getting the trainings we need to be the best employees we can be of the state and of the Child Support Office. And then lastly, we have a customer service unit and a walk-in unit here, especially in Newcastle County. We have a walk-in unit. Our customer service unit will take all of the phone calls that come into the child support office throughout the state and make sure that messages get relayed to employees in other areas of the child support office. The thing about our customer service unit and our telephone lines, and this is probably a good opportunity to say, if you ever have a need to call our child support office, you can reach us at 302-577-7171. And I always tell folks, if you call our customer service unit at that number and you're on hold for more than 25 minutes, you should hang up and call back. Because we work very hard to make sure that folks aren't on hold for any, 25 minutes is still a long time, don't get me wrong, but exorbitant amounts of time. So sometimes when folks say, I was on hold for an hour or an hour and a half, I say, don't ever do that again. Don't ever stay on hold that long. Hang up and call back. There may have been a telephone line issue that puts you out into outer space somewhere. You should always call back. Nobody should be on hold for more than 25 minutes. And we we work really closely with monitoring call wait times. And then, another aspect about customer service, the customer service unit that I always tell folks is, we have through what we call our my.delaware.gov website, the ability for folks to reach out to their child support specialist through a automated email system. But you have to go to my.delaware, spelled out, .gov, my.delaware.gov, and then pull over the child support customer portal. And that will give you direct access to your worker. You can actually send us information about your case, updated address, updated employer. And this is best thing about it is for custodial and non-custodial parents. And you can reach out to us electronically and we will answer your questions. And you can print an account statement if you want to know you don't want to call us just to get an account statement or to find out what your arrears are. You can just log into my.delaware.gov and actually look at your account statement and see the last time a payment was made, see what the arrears balance may be. So we're encouraging folks to do that. So what did I say here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 different units here at the Child Support Office. And I would always like to say that they are a well-oiled machine, but there's glitches along the way. We make mistakes sometimes. And when we make a mistake, I encourage folks to quickly work on finding a resolution. What did we do? Why did we make that mistake? And how are we going to avoid making that mistake in the future? And then, as I mentioned, we only have 3 offices statewide. So we're not as big as some of the other divisions within the Department of Health and Social Services, but we do pretty good. We do pretty good for ourselves. And then we have about 73,000 cases statewide, and I always tell folks too, a majority of those cases are obviously up here in Newcastle County, where I'm located today, and a lot of that has to do with the city of Wilmington. And so about 60% of our cases, 60% of that 73,000 is located up here in Newcastle County. And then we have about 20% of the cases in Kent County, and then 20% in Sussex County. And that's why there's more child support specialists up here in Newcastle than there would be in Kent or Sussex County, based on the fact that the caseload is significantly lower in the two lower counties. So then I thought, and I'm not seeing any more questions, I thought I would talk a little bit about the types of child support cases that we have here in Delaware. And this is the same really for child support programs around the country. They may call them different names. They may use different terminology as to how they how they will call or what they will call a specific case. But it's pretty much the same. It's pretty much the same. So here in the state of Delaware, we have what we call in-state cases. In-state cases. And what that means is that I was trying to think of a little thing I could say here, but I'll just keep it simple here. In-state cases are where both parties reside in Delaware. In-state, both parties live in the state of Delaware. That makes up a majority of our child support cases here in the state. The next is an intergovernmental, also known as an interjurisdictional child support case, and that's when one party resides in another jurisdiction. So we work closely with child support programs all around the country where the custodial parent may live in Delaware and the non-custodial parent may live in their state. And we will ask them, hey, the non-custodial parent lives in your state. Please create a case in your state and help us by creating an order on behalf of our custodial parent here in Delaware. And then the flip side of an interjurisdictional case or an intergovernmental case is when the non-custodial parent lives here in Delaware and the custodial parent lives in a different state. And they say to us, Delaware, hey, you, create a case for us on behalf of our custodial parent and enforce that case against a non-custodial parent that lives in the state of Delaware. And we will do that. And we will work closely with that other state to make sure that the non-custodial parent that lives in Delaware is meeting that child support obligation. The next case is a public assistance case, a PA case. We call it a public assistance case. And that is a case where the custodial parent lives in the state of Delaware and is receiving temporary assistance to needy families. Public assistance, TANF, temporary assistance to needy families. And that's the situation where I was describing it before. The state will create a child support order to pay back the state of Delaware for TANF benefits paid to the custodial parent. And then you have what we call a non-public assistance case. And a non-public assistance case can take several different perspectives here. It can first start off from a person who was a public assistance case. Custodial parent got TANF, but no longer is getting those benefits. That case now becomes a non-public assistance case because the custodial parent is no longer receiving those TANF benefits. And then you have a case where the custodial parent, a non-public assistance case, where the custodial parent never received public assistance. And they've come into the child support program and asked us to create a case on behalf of them to get child support from a non-custodial parent. So that's a non-public assistance case. And then you have what we call a MAO case, and that is a medical only order. And that's where the custodial parent may be receiving Medicaid for themselves and, that's the key word, and their children. If the child is getting Medicaid, we here at Child Support are obligated to minimally get a medical-only order so that when either party is employed and that employer offers medical insurance at a reasonable cost, that the parties are to enroll the child in those employer-provided health insurance benefits. Now, when someone is receiving Medicaid, they can also ask for a financial order. I want to make sure I mention that. But they can also select, hey, I just want the insurance portion. Dad helps me out on the side. He pays me regularly. He supports my child. So I don't need a financial order. I just want a medical order. And if they're going to get Medicaid, they have to get a medical only order. They can't say, I don't want a child support obligation put in place for medical only. And then lastly is what we call a non-4D case, a non-4D case. And if you're wondering what 4D stands for, go back and rewind this tape because I already mentioned it. 4D is that part of the Social Security Act that created the child support system. But a non-4D order or a non-4D type of case is where the parties have reached an agreement at court. The courts have created an order and they want child support just to keep an accounting record. Non-custodial parent, you're going to send payments to child support. They are going to send them to the custodial parent. And that's the only thing they're going to do. So we don't enforce the order. We just process the payments and keep an accounting record. So there you go. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 different types of cases that we are working here at the Division of Child Support Services. I hope that was helpful. But as I mentioned, you can move from a public assistance case to a non-public assistance case, from a Medicaid only case to a non-public assistance case. You can actually decline our services at some point and become an NPA case to a non-4D case. So it does change. It does, the type of case you have can change based on the status of the case in our office. And as I've mentioned in previous episodes of the Child Support Connection, the state of Delaware, Division of Child Support Services, we are here in Delaware, we are a judicial state. So we're not going out there and creating child support obligations as a child support program. We require that be done by the family court. The family court has jurisdiction over child support cases here in the state. Now, in other states, they take on a more of an administrative role. Some child support offices around the country can create child support orders. I think Pennsylvania does it. They can create child support obligations right in their office. But we don't do that here in Delaware. We require the court and ask the court for help. So being a judicial state here in Delaware, the courts can adjudicate paternity. Now we can, and the courts can also, of course, order that the parties comply with genetic testing. But the courts at a court hearing can say, talk to both parents. and get on the family court record. I'm the biological dad, I'm the biological mom, bam, paternity is established. We're adjudicating paternity right here and now based in this court order. And they will send that order to Vital Statistics here in Delaware, and Vital Statistics will update the children's birth certificates. The court will also set orders using the Delaware child support calculation. And I've talked about this many times in various child support connections, how the courts will use that calculation, that child support formula, and why it is so important for both parties to bring that information. If they tell you to bring in your pay stubs, bring that information into court, because they're going to use it to create that child support order. And you want them using your correct income. You don't want them speculating on what you make. The court will always try to mediate a child support obligation. There's only a few outliers as to why they won't mediate it. And there was a previous history of domestic violence. They will automatically bypass mediation and send it to a commissioner's hearing. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Additionally, if there have been previous findings of contempt against the non-custodial parent for not meeting the obligation as ordered, the case will bypass mediation and be sent directly to a commissioner's hearing. But they always want to try to mediate between the parties an obligation. And then, you know, the whole point about mediating it is if the parties cannot be mediated to agree, the case will be bumped to a commissioner's hearing. But the courts will try really hard to mediate it and try to get the parties to come together on an obligation. And then after mediation is that commissioner's hearing. And it's really used when it's necessary. If the parties cannot mediate an agreement, they send it to a commissioner. And an attorney from the Department of Justice, our attorneys here at Child Support, will be in those hearings on behalf of the program to address the non-custodial parent and to get them on board with establishing a child support order. Now at mediation, a child support specialist from the child support program will be there. But when it goes to a commissioner's hearing, that is when a Department of Justice attorney will be present. Well, I'm noticing now that it's almost 12:30, and I want to thank folks who have tuned in. And I want to thank folks for those that are going to be watching this video in a couple weeks, you know, or in a month, or in 6 months from now. Go to our YouTube channel. Become a follower of our YouTube channel, and you'll know every time we post a new video. And again, encourage non-custodial parents. Encourage non-custodial parents who have not seen that we have this monthly event. The first Monday of every month, unless I have something that deviates me away, I will be here to hold the Child Support Connection. And we want to talk to non-custodial parents. We really do. We want to understand why and what issues they're facing. But we do love questions, and we want to hear those questions. So I just want to say, everyone, we will see everybody in May. I'm going to do my May calendar check. I'm guessing that it's going to be on May 11th. May 11th, because I know that I'm going to have a meeting that's going to bump me from the 4th. So May 11th is the next Child Support Connection. And I'm hoping folks can enjoy some of the nice weather that we now have, and want to thank everybody for tuning in today. And if you have any questions, please go to my.delaware.gov or give us a call at 302-577-7171. Or, of course, you can always come into one of our 3 offices between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. More than happy to answer your questions in person. So thank you, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Child Support Connection. We will see you in May. Thank you very much.